So in this video, I'll be giving you some tips on how you can increase your download and upload speeds on your PS5. So if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're probably downloading a new game. Let me know down below what game that is. My guess is some sort of Call of Duty. There's always a new Call of Duty game that's like 100 gigs, but let me know down below. And by the way, I'll have links to everything down below in the description for everything I use in this video to help you increase your download speeds. So let's go ahead and get started. So number one, and this might seem kind of obvious to a lot of people, but make sure you get the fastest internet possible in your area. So there's actually some websites, which I'll link down below and show on the screen right now, where you can type in your zip code or your address, and you can find your available internet service providers near you. And now you can go through here, find the fastest speeds. Now, obviously, faster speeds are going to cost more money, so you kind of got to balance that if you want to pay that extra money. But if you want the fastest speeds, you got to get the fastest internet. Now, just for example, right now I have Spectrum. I have 1 gigabit down and 35 megabits up, which is pretty good for download. Upload is not the best. I used to have Google Fiber, which is great. 1 gig up, 1 gig down. Highly recommend that if you can find it in your area. So tip number 2, you want to make sure you use an Ethernet cable to connect your router and your PS5. So basically, you'll take one end of the Ethernet cable, plug it into your PS5, and you'll plug the other end into your router. So I'll put some links down below to good Ethernet cables. Right now I use a Cat6 cable, which basically Cat6 means that it supports 10 gigabits per second transfer speeds, which is super fast, faster than any internet service you're going to buy right now. But it's good to future-proof, and honestly, it's not that more expensive than Cat5e, which only supports 1 gigabit per second. So the reason I recommend an Ethernet cable is because it eliminates all the interference in the air. So if you're like in an apartment building or something, you have a ton of different Wi-Fi signals from all the different tenants, and it's going to interfere, slower speeds. Ethernet cable, it's all wired. You eliminate all the interference and you get faster speeds. Now, the problem with an Ethernet cable is it's not always practical. If your PS5 is in a different room than your router, then it might not be possible to even run a cable. So in that case, I would recommend getting your PS5 as close to your router as possible and vice versa. So you get a strong signal. Basically a strong signal means faster internet. So next, we're going to actually head over to our PS5, turn it on, and I'm going to show you some tips on your PS5. So when you turn your PS5 on, you'll probably be on the screen right here. You want to scroll up and to the right over to settings, click on settings. And as you can see, you got a bunch of settings here. You're going to click on network. Now, once you get to network, you can see a bunch of different settings. You can change your Wi-Fi, plug in an Ethernet cable, all that good stuff. I'm going to show you a few things first just to keep in mind. So if you click on connection status, you can test your internet connection, which will tell you how fast your speeds are. That's a good baseline. You can also click on view connection status, which will show you some more detailed stats. You can see like your MAC address, your SSID, your security method, all this other stuff you probably don't need to see, but just a good thing to keep in mind. So that leads us into our next tip. So make sure wherever possible, if you're not using an Ethernet cable, make sure to use 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi instead of 2.4. I'll put some links down below to some routers that support 2.4 and 5, which most do nowadays, but I'll put them down below, some ones I recommend. And basically the reason I suggest using 5 gigahertz has more bandwidth, which means faster speeds. 2.4 has less bandwidth, which means slower speeds. Now the downside is that 5 gigahertz doesn't travel as far, so if your router is across the house from your PS5, it's probably not going to work as well as 2.4 because 2.4 travels further. But let me go ahead and show you where you can check this. So if for whatever reason you don't know what Wi-Fi you have, if you go down to view connection status, you can actually scroll down here. And as you can see, Wi-Fi frequency band in use, it says 5 gigahertz. So if that's 2.4, it'll say 2.4 gigahertz. If it's 5, it'll say 5 gigahertz. And like I said, you want 5 wherever possible. And also, like I mentioned a minute ago, you can see your signal strength here. So as you can see, I have 100% because I'm basically right next to my router right now. So you want that as high as possible if you're not using an Ethernet cable. So now that you have some details, let me show you my internet connection speeds, and we can do some comparisons real quick. So as you just saw, right now I'm on 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. We're going to see what our speeds are here. All right, so as you can see, I have 241 down, 13 up, which is a little bit disappointing. Like I said, I have 1 gig down right now and 35 up from my internet service provider. Now, like I said, I'm on Wi-Fi right now, so I expect it to not be quite as fast. And also, we're limited by PlayStation servers, so if there's a ton of people downloading right now or might have issues, but let me go ahead and plug in my Ethernet cable, and we'll do a comparison there. So now that my Ethernet cable is plugged in, I'm gonna go to settings and click on setup internet connection so that I can make sure I'm on my wired LAN. So let's click on setup wired LAN, and it'll basically do everything by itself. Just click connect, and as you can see, it says connecting to network now. So on view connection status, you can now see it says LAN cable connected. We'll go back, go to test internet connection, and it'll tell us our speeds. So there you go, guys. As you can see, we have 780 down. We still only have 16 up, but it's a little bit faster. But the most important part for downloading games is the download speed. So we have 780 down, which is almost 3 times better than what we had before. So guys, make sure to use Ethernet wherever possible. Like I said, I have links down below to some good Ethernet cables. They're pretty cheap too, as long as you're not super far away from your router. But make sure to use that if possible. Now I also want to show you my 2.4 connection to show you that it is the slowest. So under view connection status, as you can see, it says 2.4 gigahertz. We're still at 100%. Signal strength, let's go to test internet connection and see what it says. So our test is done. We have 86 down and 25 up. The upload is kind of sketchy. Not sure why it's higher than the other two were, but as you can see, our download matches up. It's a lot slower. So obviously 2.4 is the worst, 5 gig is the middle, and Ethernet is the best. So next up, I have a couple things that won't directly impact your download speeds, but they will improve your performance. So let me go back. We'll go to settings. As you can see, we're still in settings. We go down to storage. And first thing you want to do is, if you're running out of storage space, I highly recommend getting an M.2 SSD. Even if you're not running out of storage space, I highly recommend getting this because it actually reads games a little bit faster. I have a video I'll link down below on how to do this. It's pretty easy. Actually, it's super easy. It takes like 10 minutes to do. And the drives are not that crazy expensive, so I'll put links down below to them. But basically, you can go to installation location, and you can put in either your console storage or your M.2. So by default, I do M.2 since it's a little bit faster, and our console storage is actually running out right now. And another thing that kind of goes hand in hand with this is you want to have your automatic updates turned on. Like I said, it's not going to directly impact your current download speeds, but it will help you download stuff faster. So if we go back and we go down to save data in game/app settings, scroll down to automatic updates, make sure auto download is clicked on and auto install and rest mode is clicked on. Basically, so if you're sleeping or something and an update gets pushed out, you can download while you're sleeping instead of waking up, turning on your PS5 and realizing you have to download 50 gigs. So that's just something, that's a little tip there. So something else I want to do real quick before we get to our next tip, I want to actually download a game and kind of show you another place where you can see your downloading stats. It's a little bit different than where we've seen it so far. You can actually see them downloading in action. So go to our downloads/uploads, click on Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, which I just started downloading. Now, as you see, it gives us an estimated time left, and it also tells us how fast we're downloading. So basically, it updates how many megabytes have been downloaded about every second. So you can take that calculation. So as you can see, we're getting about 10 megabytes per second, and there's actually 8 bits in a byte. So that translates to about 80 bits per second, which matches up exactly with what we saw on our download test, which was like 78 on 2.4 gigahertz. Just wanted to show you that if you wanted to see another place where you can see your download stats. So the next tip I'm going to give you is a little bit complex. Honestly, it's not really that complex. You just got to follow the steps I give you. I'm going to show you how to do it, and you can basically you can go back to default if it doesn't work, but I'll show you how to do it because it can really dramatically increase your speeds in some cases. So we'll go to network, go down to settings, click on setup internet connection. We'll go down all the way down to setup manually. We'll just use LAN cable since I already have that plugged in. It's the easiest to do. So as you can see, we got all these settings here. We're going to leave most of this alone, but what we're going to do is go down to DNS settings, click on that, and instead of automatic, we're going to click manual. So basically what we're going to do is change our primary DNS and our secondary DNS. Usually it does this automatically and finds the best one for you, but in some cases that doesn't get you the fastest speeds. So we're gonna modify this and see if we can get faster speeds. So two of the most popular DNS servers are Google and OpenDNS, which I'll show you how to put those in today. You can search the internet for a lot more if you want to try them, but we're going to start with OpenDNS. So we'll click on primary DNS. So we're going to type in 208.67.222.222 and then press done. And then you want to scroll down to secondary DNS and type in almost the same thing. It's going to be 2.08 or 208.67.220.220 and then press done. And now you're going to scroll down, click done. It's going to connect to the network, and then you're going to test your speeds and see if they're any faster. So now we're testing our speeds, and let's see what the results are. All right, so looking at our speeds, we now have 542 down on our LAN cable, which is actually slower than it was earlier, and we have 28 up, which is actually faster than it was earlier. Now, in reality, I want to compare this like side by side. So I did the other one like 30 minutes ago. What you want to do is do it by default and then immediately change your DNS settings and then test it again. So like I said, it might go up and down depending on your case. I've seen people go from like 2 megabits per second to 120 by doing this. Performance is all over the place. Just test it out, and I'll show you the other DNS setting you can use as well. So if we go back again, as you can see, DNS settings says automatic again. We'll click on manual, and this time we'll do the Google DNS server. So for Google, the primary is 8.8.8.8, and secondary is 8.8.4.4. Pretty simple. Click done. We'll connect to the network, and we'll go back and test our speeds again. So as you can see, our download and upload speeds are actually about the same as they were on the OpenDNS. Now I'm going to go back and turn it all off and see what our speeds are. So as you can see, our download and upload speeds actually were faster when I changed the DNS, so we're back on automatic now. A little bit slower. Earlier it was like 700 and something. I'm not sure what happened between now and then, but basically our DNS settings actually did help. So make sure to check that out. It might help you, it might deteriorate it, but it's pretty easy to just change back if it doesn't do good for you. So last but not least, I'm not going to show you exactly how to do this one, but you can use QoS on your router, which is quality of service, and you can basically prioritize your traffic. So you could say, I want gaming to be highest priority, streaming to be second, my sister's iPhone to be third. Yeah, I mean, like if you search it online, you can figure out how to do it. I'll put some routers down below that do have that feature. You probably won't use it, honestly, but you can if you really want to. Hopefully these tips helped you out. If they did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and check out the links down below to the products I use, and thanks for watching. What is my... Can't even remember my Wi-Fi password. What is it?